feels good to be back, man. It feels so good to be back in studio. I was originally supposed to be gone for just 2 weeks out on the East Coast. Family situation came up. However, it has since been resolved, but that added on an additional 2 weeks out away. And I was still putting out video content out on Score North's YouTube channel, as well as my own personal channel, Realistic Randy. I was doing YouTube live feeds, reacting to questions and comments that you guys had out there regarding the past 2 games of the Minnesota Vikings preseason. So we're talking about week 1 against the New Orleans Saints and last week against the Seattle Seahawks. So I was still putting out content. I just wasn't in studio. But I tell you what, folks, it feels so good to be back. Let's get started. So I'd like to think that I'm a nice guy. I really, really do. In fact, I have a general rule of thumb, and that is in life as well as in podcasting included. I will make sure that if nothing else, I will respect you. I will do nothing but respect you. If we know each other, if we bump into each other, we don't know each other, whatever it is, I will show you nothing but respect. However, if you go out of your way to be blatantly disrespectful and take personal shots, then all bets are off the table. I had this whole podcast segment that I was originally prepared to talk about today. However, that's getting pushed off to the side for later on this week after 2 Vikings media members decided to insult me, one directly before teaming up with the other to indirectly insult me over the airwaves. And I want to make sure that I paint the entire picture for this. So basically, you guys can understand what led up to this happening. Yesterday, on Tuesday, Mike Zimmer was quoted talking about Kyle Sloter. He said, quote, he's got to get a lot better in a lot of the other parts of being a quarterback, making the right checks, getting people in the right formation, making sure the motion is there, not missing time clock with 8 yards in front of you. There are a lot of things he has to get better at if he wants to be the backup quarterback. And those that have been following me even recently knows that I've been very vocal in my support for Kyle Sloter, because everything that all the complaints that I hear about from the media members and the coaching staff regarding Kyle Sloter, you just don't see it on the field. He magically disappears from that garbage out in practice or this and that in the third to where he gets out on the field in preseason games and he absolutely lights it up. The last 2 years in preseason, he has been absolutely flawless. Now, he's gone up against the third teams. Now, I do think he should be the backup quarterback. However, I could be wrong about that. At the very least, he should be at least competing against the second team defenses to really show if that's just a fluke what he's doing against third and fourth team defenses. That's always been my stance. So anyway, that was Mike Zimmer's quote talking about Kyle Sloter. He has to get better at XYZ and all this other stuff. Okay, fine. Now, that was the first thing that happened. That was the thing that started this whole thunderstorm. Now, the first individual media member, and I'm not going to say your name. I don't respect you. I'm not going to promote your podcast. You did this to yourself. Everything that I'm about to say, you brought this on yourself. To the both of you, you know who you are. This first individual media member shared that quote of what Mike Zimmer said about Kyle Sloter, to which I reacted to that quote, not to them, to the quote from Mike Zimmer, and I said something along the lines of, wow, this is reaching absurd levels of insanity. This is absolutely crazy, to which the first individual media member responded saying, the fact that anyone is even talking about Sloter as the number 2 quarterback is what's crazy. And I said to myself, this person, they really want to debate me? Really? I'm just talking about Mike Zimmer and his quotes, not you. This had nothing to do with you. But okay, fine. You want to debate this? Okay, fine. So then I went on to say about how the differences of what we've seen, or what I've seen anyway, on the field during this preseason so far, the first 2 games, the differences between Sean Mannion and Kyle Sloter and what separates Sloter from Mannion. This person then went on to respond and say, there's no battle for the job. There's no point in analyzing this when the coaches already made their decision. and talked about how Gary Kubiak, he knows what he's doing. Oh, okay. And I then went on to say, that's okay, fine. That's fine. We're well aware that the decision has been made. However, this is a team that has made mistakes in the past with preferred players that they have, in which it impeded possible further success that they could have had, maybe making the playoffs, missing the playoffs altogether because of that one player, or getting further in the playoffs than they could have actually done. This person then went on to respond and say, and then I said, this idea that coaches can't be questioned, you're in this industry, you're in this business, you give your comments and opinions all the time. So because the coach seems to agree with you, because this media member, both of them were on the Kyle Sloter, he's not going to be the QB2, blah, 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 blah. So these people, they criticize the coaching staff, the executives, and the players all the time. But when the coaching staff agrees with you, oh, the coaches, they made their decision, it's time to move on. Oh, okay. And I said, hey, it's still open for questioning if you have legit thought behind it. And this person then went on to say, if Twitter wants to pretend how to scout quarterbacks off third quarter preseason games, go right ahead. So now you're taking it to that next level. Now you're being blatantly disrespectful. This person, along with the second individual, in which I've said, really, you're really joining the party? You came out of nowhere, out of left field, then proceeded to go on the airwaves where they spent 12 and a half, close to 15 minutes, continuing talking about this. Really? This is what they really got on the radio and spent time out of their day on their show, on their podcast, on their segment talking about this. Again, me reacting to Mike Zimmer, not you. No one was thinking about y'all, but y'all took it personal. Okay, fine. And these are the bullet points that I have that they said, direct quotes. Maybe I screwed up a conjunction here and there, but this is what they said. This is the synopsis of what they said. I'm going to read through these bullet points before I respond to each one of them. Number one, it's funny how people on Twitter think they can scout Kyle Sloter while watching preseason games versus Gary Kubiak. Number two, the backup quarterback competition isn't even close. If it was, we would know about it because we're out there every single day watching this stuff. I'm guessing you're talking about practice. Okay, fine. Anybody on Twitter who has a podcast and 5 followers and 5 listeners, actually, I don't want to hear about it because you're disparaging the coaching staff. Ooh, spicy. I think people and fans get hooked on cult heroes because it's a good story. You're not bringing football in the equation here. He's playing third stringers, and that's who you want if Kirk Cousins goes down in a game, a guy who has no NFL experience, and that's what you want? It's getting crazy, isn't it? It's getting really, this is crazy. It's really morphed into this. You sound uneducated. The next bullet point. Gary Kubiak found Trevor Siemian and got the most out of him. It's really frustrating. This is what they said. It's really frustrating to constantly have people going after us. I'm tired of people liking somebody based off a story, a name, or a shtick, or some other BS that has nothing to do with the play on the football field. There's a desperation for something interesting in preseason games when a guy comes in and throws a 5-yard pass to Mike Boone and he runs for 45 yards, and that looks like a 45-yard pass for the quarterback, and he has good numbers at the end of the game. It's something to latch onto. So let the record show. Now that it's all out there, you did this to yourselves. Okay, so let's respond to each and every one of them. Here we go. It's funny how people on Twitter think they can scout Kyle Sloter while watching preseason games versus Gary Kubiak. He knows everything. And I know that Gary Kubiak is a mastermind on the offensive side of the ball. He is a former Super Bowl championship head coach. All these things are true. However, unless you're Bill Belichick, every other coach, head coach in the league, or even coaching staff member, assistant head coaches, whatever the case may be, you are all open for criticism if it's warranted. outside of Bill Belichick because he's perfect. You can't question anything that this man does. Is Bill Belichick, is he coaching this Minnesota Vikings team? Oh, he's not? Okay. So that's number one. Number two, the backup quarterback competition isn't even close. If it was, we would know about it because we're out there every single day watching this stuff. So you're talking about practice. In fact, one of you guys went out there on Twitter and kept tweeting on, we're out there, because I saw someone else, they tagged me in something. We're out there we're out there in practice. Are you out there in practice? We talk to the people that know Sean Mannion. So we're really sitting here pretending like Kyle Sloter isn't lighting up the field. We're just practice usurps everything. Okay. That's really what you're saying right now. Okay, I'll get into that a little bit further. Anybody on Twitter who has a podcast and 5 followers and 5 listeners, actually, I don't want to hear about it because you're disparaging the coaching staff. So let's get to the disparaging the coaching staff part. Again, you're only bringing up the coaching staff time and time again because they agree with your stance when both of you criticize everybody in the organization all the time. All the freaking time. It's absolutely ridiculous. So you want some salt with that hypocrisy at all? Then we get to the first point. Anybody on Twitter who has a podcast, 5 followers, 5 listeners. So evidently, if you have an opinion about the Minnesota Vikings, you have to vet it through these two commentators. I'm going to say clown sauce commentating style that they have. I'm going to be very careful to not call you names, but I'm just going to critique your style, the way that you come off, what you show. It's it shows a very weak personality talking about how many followers that someone has. So evidently, someone doesn't have the right opinion or someone doesn't have a valid opinion unless they have a certain number of followers. So it doesn't matter if they have facts or legitimate thoughts behind it to back it up. Your followers are what determine that. That's absolutely weak sauce. It's really showing your character. I think people and fans get hooked on cult heroes because it's a good story. Nobody gives a damn about a good story. Nobody does. We see what this dude does on the football field, Kyle Sloter, the last 2 years, who's been flawless on the field. That's what we want to see. You owe it to yourself. If you're trying to put out the best 53-man roster possible for your team, you owe it to yourself. If you see a guy just destroying the competition in front of him, then upgrade him. Put him a level up to see how he does at the next level. So second-team defenses, if he doesn't look good, then okay, now we can revisit this conversation. But you're not even giving him that opportunity. And that's what this really comes down to, the opportunity. They have not given him the opportunity to show if he's all that he's cracked up to be as he has been against the third-team defenses. You're not bringing football in the equation here. Okay, fine. We haven't talked enough football. Apparently, I've done it several times, but let me make sure I spell this out for you guys who just love to just find stuff to nitpick and create. You're really generalizing what the people are thinking, and that is really irresponsible. But let's talk football. Sean Mannion versus Kyle Sloter. Let's start with Sean Mannion. What does Sean Mannion do well? Well, he hands the ball off very well. He can do a really good job of throwing check down passes to his running backs, and he can throw short yard situations, 5 to 7 yards, to his tight ends, either within the hash marks or just outside of it. So you're talking about the middle of the field, the short yard, middle of the field situation. That's where Sean Mannion will thrive at. Outside of that, if you're a receiver playing with your quarterback is Sean Mannion, you are going to be very frustrated because he can't throw outside worth a damn, especially towards the sidelines. He can't throw deep. If you are a receiver with Sean Mannion as your quarterback, you are literally going to get paid to do nothing more than exercise. Looking at Kyle Sloter, the difference between Sean Mannion and Kyle Sloter, he does everything well that Sean Mannion does. But what he also do is he can throw intermediate routes. He can throw deep. He can throw outside. He spreads the ball around. He has phenomenal zip on the ball. He's confident, and with his athleticism, he can extend plays. He can get outside the pocket. He can throw it to open receivers when the coverage breaks down. Or worst case scenario, he can run, take off, and scramble for 5 or 6 yards. You can open up the playbook with so many more plays with Kyle Sloter versus some damn Sean Mannion. Is that enough football for you? He's playing third stringers, and that's who you want. If Kirk Cousins goes down in a game, a guy who has no NFL experience, and that's what you want, yeah, that's exactly what I want. But again, I could be wrong. The point is, we don't know how good he can be. We know how great he is against third stringers. Really, it's really unfair against third string defenses because Kyle Sloter he probably costs a lot of dudes on the bubble, players that are on the roster bubble for opposing teams. He probably costs a lot of dudes their job. So now with Kyle Sloter, the point is, let's see him. That's the point. He's playing against third stringers. Yeah, that's the point. He needs to play against second stringers. And then you can see, oh, is this really who he is? If not, okay, we can revisit this. And you talk about he has no NFL experience. It's funny because this one individual person yelled it out and was really worked up about it. No NFL experience. And you're right. Kyle Sloter has no NFL experience in terms of regular season games. Sean Mannion, he does have NFL experience. In fact, I have his stats right here. See what we got here. Sean Mannion, he has played in 4 seasons. He's played 4 seasons in the NFL. He's going into his 5th season. He has played a total of 10 games. He did start 1 game, but he played a total of 10 games. In those 10 games, he has a grand total. He went 33 for 53, so just under 62.5 completion percentage. And then for 258 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception, 4.9 yards per attempt. That is not a misread. That is not a typo. That is not me screwing up. We're not talking about a running back averaging 4.9 yards per attempt on his carries. No, we're talking about a quarterback. 4.9 yards per attempt. You can look it up yourself. That's what we're sitting here kissing ass for. That's the experience that he has experience. Experience doing what? Sucking? Oh, let's keep it going. You sound uneducated. Well, the both of you sound butthurt, and you sound very, very insecure. It sounds like, I don't know what it is, because you complain so much. Both of you complain so much about the people on Twitter, the bloggers, everybody out there. And again, it seems way too coincidental based on the direct contact that one of you had with me to then an hour and some change later go on a show and spend 12 and a half minutes talking about, oh, the bloggers, the podcasters, and they think they know this. For someone who says they don't care about the Twitter view and they don't know what they're talking about, y'all spend a lot of time. One in particular will spend all day long responding to every single tweet that comes after them. You're in this business. And you know what? One more thing on that coaching point. Oh, Gary Kubiak and the coaching staff, they know what they're doing. If we're supposed to just say the coaches, the executives, they made the decisions and that's the best decision for the team 100% of the time, then excuse me, why do you two have jobs? Why are you in this business? Why aren't you reporters? Why don't you just say, well, these are the stats that they do, a halftime report. These are the stats that they did, and this is what the player said on the podium, because you guys share your opinions all the time on what you think they did right or wrong. But all of a sudden, because they agree with you, the coach decisions, that's what's most important. Y'all are so hypocritical when it comes to this crap. Anyway, moving forward from that, did I say enough on that one? Yes, I did. You sound uneducated. You sound butthurt and insecure. Next, Gary Kubiak found Trevor Siemian and got the most out of him. We're really sitting here praising Trevor Siemian right now, who's been on multiple teams at this point. By the way, last preseason, Kyle Sloter outperformed him too. It's really frustrating to constantly have people going after us. Who is going after you? Again, this had nothing to do with you. You invited yourself and this drama in this situation. I was reacting to a quote from Mike Zimmer. Not to you. Nobody was thinking about y'all, but you invited yourself into this conversation. This had nothing. This had nothing to do with you at all. I can't sing, but you get the point. This had nothing to do with you, but you made this about you. That's interesting. And you spent all that time getting upset and getting hot takes and outrage and all that. That is crazy. That is absurd. It's hilarious. Thanks for giving me the content and something to talk about and all that fun stuff. I really do appreciate it. But that's nuts. And you all tweeting all day long. You could literally tweet to this one individual person, hey, what's up? How's it going? And they'll respond, hey, how are you? Hey, I don't like your, or not I don't like you. You could say, I don't necessarily agree with your take on XYZ. And here are the reasons why. They'll usually respond with, well, you're an idiot. I have more followers. You're on Twitter. You don't know anything. It's funny. The people that actually digest your content. Yeah, it's funny because my rule of thumb is when it comes to this pod, I said, be respectful, but also when I'm interacting with people, specifically on this podcast thing, never take it personal. When I talk about Mike Zimmer or Anthony Barr, all that stuff, I talk about them in their positions. In the case of Mike Zimmer, I talked about the great things that he's done in the Minneapolis community, his foundation. They do great things for the youth out there. But in terms of what they do in their jobs, that's what I talk about. That's what I always do. When I do YouTube Live, Facebook Live, when I interact with you guys, I disagree with some of you guys a lot, quite honestly. And I will just say the reasons why. I won't say you're an idiot or you're uneducated. I won't do any of that. So for you guys to sit there and insult the very people that listen or watch what you do, that sounds like a really solid recipe for success. What else we got? Next, I'm tired of people liking somebody based off a story, a name, or a shtick, or some other BS that has nothing to do with playing on the field. We literally all the time just talk about what he's done on the field. So on one hand, you talk about how preseason games don't matter. Practice actually matters. And then on the other hand, you're talking about, well, people only like him because of the story. Which one is it? Which one is it? You're contradicting yourself every which way that you go. You sound ridiculous, straight up. There's a desperation for something interesting in preseason games. When a guy comes in and throws a 5-yard pass to Mike Boone and he runs for 45 yards and that looks like a 45-yard pass for the quarterback and he has good numbers at the end of the game, is something to latch onto. You're right. If that's the case, a quarterback that throws a 5-yard pass and the dude turns it into 45 yards, it really inflates the stats and it makes the quarterback look better than what they are. But instead, the funny thing is, you misreferenced the quarterback. That's not Kyle Sloter. That was actually Sean Mannion. Why don't you get your facts straight first? Because that was Sean Mannion that threw that dump-off pass. I said again, he's good at throwing checkdowns, and Mike Boone turned it into 45 yards. So you're using an argument to trash Kyle Sloter when it's actually against something that your boy that you've been kissing ass on for this entire time period, that you actually got the quarterbacks mixed up. It's really funny. No, your boy, Sean Mannion, looks a lot better than what he does because of stats like that. Get your facts straight. Kyle Sloter actually makes throws down the field. So you're actually just jumbling, don't even know what you're talking about. Don't you have a show? Don't you prep for these things? Don't you take notes? I thought it's funny because I thought these people, and I'm not talking about all the Vikings media members. If this doesn't involve you, it's fine. It's all good. It's all great. Don't take offense to this, but you know who you are. Those individuals, you know who you are. These people, they got the blue check mark next to their name on Twitter or on Facebook, and they think they're hot stuff. And, practice doesn't matter. Or no, not practice. We're talking about practice. Preseason doesn't matter. Practice usurps everything, and we talk to the people that know Sean Mannion best. Oh, okay, practice. Practice is all that matters, really. 2017, we had a guy by the name of Case Keenum. Reportedly was awful during practice. What do you know? comes into the game, to start week 2 against the Pittsburgh Steelers after Sam Bradford goes down, a guy who was reportedly terrible in practice. And what do you know? We get to the NFC Championship game with that very quarterback who was bad at practice. Can you imagine the NFC Championship game? Can you imagine if we had Trevor Siemian, who's better at practice reportedly, or even better, Sean Mannion to lead the way, dudes who are better at practice? Oh, we would have won the Super Bowl, bro. We would have won it all. In fact, I'll do you an extra favor. Why don't we put an asterisk next to these 2017 stats of one Case Keenum, because apparently that didn't happen because he sucked at practice. That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. And it's funny because Vikings preseason games, apparently they're the second coming of John Cena, because over here, we think we're watching the Vikings preseason games, but we're not. Apparently, it's a mirage. It's smokescreen. When Vikings preseason games, while we're over here, they're actually over here looking at us. The actual Vikings preseason games are looking at us, saying to us, ha, 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 you can't see me. That's funny. And don't talk to me about preseason doesn't matter, because last year, August 18th, 2018, the Vikings, they played the Jacksonville Jaguars in a preseason game. Kai Forbath, he missed a field goal. And because of that, 2 days later, he got cut by the Minnesota Vikings. So which one is it? Okay, he got cut in direct response. Now, they were looking for any reason to have Daniel Carlson be the starter, but he got cut because of a missed kick in preseason. So which one is it? Which one is it? Huh? Bro, practice. All we're saying is let him go up against the twos. You guys act like that you're all high and mighty, and you walk around like your stuff don't stink. And it's funny because no one else's opinions matters but you. Apparently, everyone else's opinions is garbage but yours. Oh, you know what? I think I have an opinion about something with the Vikings, but I should vet it through these two guys first. Oh, my God. You know what's funny? You guys walk high and mighty. You beat your chest. You basically disparage all the listeners and the watchers all the time, consistently. I've watched this so long, but I've never said anything until you included me. You included me in this. You went out of your way to be mad. You do this all the time. You guys, what do you think? You're celebrities? You're not star actors or actresses. You're not music stars, pop stars. You're not a movie producer. You're not professional athletes. You're not politicians. You cover sports. Who do you think you are? You are, in terms of what you think you are, let me tell you something right now. You can walk outside, go somewhere, go to a restaurant, but you might get a couple of people that recognize you. Mass majority, they won't know who you are. And that includes me too. All the people that walk around and act all big and bad and all because I cover the Vikings, I'm a somebody. Okay, that's fine. You achieved that. But don't let it get to your head. Don't let it gas your head up. And another thing, coming after these people that do independent blogs, independent podcasts, and all that other stuff, you consistently come after them all the time. When they say, and a lot of the times, it's unwarranted. We say nothing to you. I said nothing to you. Nothing about either one of you guys ever. And you went on to insult me? You really went on to insult me? This had nothing to do with you. And you insult these people that get out there as a hobby. And these people, yeah, they want to get a job and all that other stuff or whatever. But above all else, they enjoy what you're doing. And you are using your platform to try to tear them down. For what? Because you're insecure? Because you come off as weak? That's why? Man, y'all need to go somewhere. Get that crap out of my face. We do this 3 times a week. And let it be known, you take it to the next level, I will crush you. Do you understand that? You can find me on Twitter at realistic_Randy. In fact, I'll put in the comments section how to unblock somebody. You don't like me so bad? Don't follow me. Don't block me. Don't look at anything I do. It's really not that hard. We'll see you later.